All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going deep inside the human body to uncover a hidden story, a drama that plays out inside our most critical highways, our arteries. It's a story of injury, repair, and a silent process that can clog the very channels that keep us alive. Let's see how it all goes down.
So, why should you care about this story? Well, check this out. Atherosclerosis. It's responsible for about half of all deaths in the Western world. Just take that in for a second. 50%. That's a staggering number, right? So yeah, understanding this process, it's absolutely crucial.
Okay, so to get this, we've got to start with the basics, right? Let's talk about the heroes of our story, your blood vessels. You're looking at this incredible unsung network of arteries and veins. Think of it as this vast hidden highway system that keeps every single part of you running.
And what's so cool about your arteries is their design. It's really elegant, made up of 3 distinct layers. But for our story, we're going to zoom in on just one, the intima. That's the inner lining. The best way to think about it, it's like a perfect, super smooth, non-stick Teflon coating, just making sure everything flows beautifully.
So that's the ideal state, right? A perfect system. But what happens when that system gets hurt? This question right here is the key to the whole story. It's what scientists call the response to injury hypothesis. And believe me, this is where all the trouble begins.
It all kicks off with something called endothelial dysfunction. Now, it sounds technical, but it's pretty simple. Those risk factors we hear about all the time, high blood pressure, chemicals from smoking, high cholesterol, they start to damage that smooth inner lining. That perfect Teflon coating, it gets scratched up. It becomes sticky. It loses that protective magic. And that is the first crack in the armor.
Once that first crack appears, it sets off a whole chain reaction. Now, here's the wild part. Your body is actually trying to help. It's not trying to cause a problem. It's launching a full-on repair mission. The problem is, this is a repair mission that can go horribly, horribly wrong.
Okay, so let's walk through how this happens, step by step. First, that injury makes the artery wall kind of leaky. This lets the bad LDL cholesterol sneak past the barrier and get trapped. Your body's immune system spots this intruder and sounds the alarm, sending in cells to clean up the mess. But these cleanup cells, they just gorge themselves on cholesterol until they get so bloated they turn into these things called foam cells. It's a mess. So to try and contain it all, the body builds a little wall, a fibrous cap over the whole scene. And just like that, a plaque is born.
And this is what it looks like at the very, very beginning. It's called a fatty streak. It's basically just a little pile of those foam cells we were just talking about. But here's the real kicker. This process can start when you're a teenager. Yeah, this isn't just a disease for older folks. The seeds can be planted decades before there's ever a problem.
Okay, so a plaque is formed, but what happens next? This is super important because, not all plaques are the same, not even close. There's a world of difference between a plaque that just kind of sits there, slowly narrowing an artery, and one that's basically a ticking time bomb. And this image, wow, it just shows you the difference perfectly. Over on the left, you've got a stable plaque. See that thick, strong cap holding it all together? It's still not good, obviously, but it's contained. Now look at the one on the right. That's a vulnerable plaque. The cap is thin, it's fragile, and it's sitting on top of this big, gooey, fatty core. You can just tell that one is way, way more likely to break.
Now, even that stable plaque can cause major issues, don't get me wrong. As it grows and grows over time, it can start to narrow the artery, right? It chokes off the blood flow. And when that happens in your heart, that's when people can get chest pain, angina, especially when they're, exercising or exerting themselves.
But here's the thing that's truly scary. Those really dangerous plaques, the vulnerable ones, a lot of the time they give you 0 warning signs. None. A person can feel totally fine, their blood flow might not even be all that restricted, right up until the second that thing decides to rupture. And that rupture, well, that's the climax of our whole story. It's the moment this long, slow, chronic problem suddenly becomes an acute, life-or-death emergency. So imagine this. That thin little cap on the vulnerable plaque gives way. It breaks. All that gooey, inflammatory stuff inside spills out into the bloodstream. Your body freaks out. It thinks there's a massive wound, and it does what it's supposed to do. It forms a huge blood clot to try and plug the hole. The only problem is, inside a tiny coronary artery, that clot doesn't just plug the hole. It blocks the entire highway. And in that instant, blood flow just stops. The heart muscle downstream is starved of oxygen, and it starts to die. That is a heart attack. Okay,
I know that story sounds incredibly grim. And it is, but here is the most important part of this whole thing. This is not a story where you're just a bystander. You are not a passive observer. You, personally, have the power to change the ending.
So how do we do that? Well, let's look at the risk factors. On the left side, yeah, there are things we can't change. Our genes, our age, it is what it is. But look at that list on the right. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking, diabetes, these are the big ones. These are the powerful levers that we can actually pull. We have a ton of control over these.
And the science on this is it's crystal clear. We know for a fact that when we step in, especially by lowering cholesterol with diet or with medications, we don't just slow the process down. In some cases, we can actually cause these plaques to shrink, to regress, and most importantly, we slash the risk of that catastrophic event we just talked about.
So look, the story we've just walked through, it's happening, in some way inside all of us. It's a tale being written in our arteries year after year. So the final question, really, is for you. Knowing what you know now, how are you going to write your ending?